The Connectivity Scorecard is a groundbreaking new global ICT measure. It ranks countries on the approximately 30 indicators of connectivity, including broadband, fixed line, mobile, and computing technologies that contribute to a country's social and economic development. The scorecard was created by Leonard Waverman, Professor of Economics at London Business School, and commissioned by Nokia Siemens Networks to examine the relationship between connectivity and economic prosperity.
The Connectivity Scorecard is a very innovative way of measuring how communications networks are used and provided so to enhance productivity and economic growth. It is substantially different from the other scorecards or indices that are out in the public domain by having a better kind of economic grounding, better data, and I think the results are more intuitive than many of the other scorecards that are out there. One of the most important things in developing any kind of scorecard or index which ranks countries is to have a clear basis of the data and of the endpoint. So what we're trying to measure here is how connected economies are in the sense of driving economic growth and productivity. And therefore one looks for data which measures that contribution. And what we do, which is really innovative and unique, is to use national accounts data, which is available for every country in the world, or almost every country in the world, and forms the basis of our weightings.
The Connectivity Scorecard measures the development level of countries, how they're using communications technologies, and how they should be using the communication technologies for the economic and social benefit of those countries.
First, for the innovation-driven economies, the scorecard is measured so that a country that is best in any subcomponent gets a 10, and everybody else is ranked according to that 10. And so the average score among all the countries is an interesting number. How well do countries rank on average? That number is 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 says that there's enormous potential, even in developed Western economies, to further use connectivity as a grower of productivity. And that's both on the infrastructure side and the skills and usage side. The other surprise to us was how well the United States did. Other indices ranked the U.S. quite low, and it is quite low on terms of consumer broadband, for example. But in terms of business uses of connectivity, the U.S. really is one of the major economies on Earth. So the result is not surprising when you really think about it.
In my opinion, the one thing that surprised me the most about the results is related to the fact that despite the huge investments that have been made on communications technologies and other new technologies, there is still a lot of room for growth and really pinpointing what needs to be done in markets specifically to gain the most out of the new technologies and the way how they're being used in a transformative and innovative ways in economic activity.
Among the other resource and efficiency economies, Malaysia and Russia did very well. Relatively, India did very poorly. The Indian result is probably surprising because when one thinks of India, one thinks of the major Indian firms like Infosys, who are world leaders in ICT. The problem is that their use of ICT is really for exports, that ICT is not being used domestically within the Indian economy, and therefore those firms are really helping economic growth in the United States, but not economic growth in India. And so those are kind of the surprising results that we had.
I think it's the question how to increase the ranking of specific countries in the connectivity scorecard relates to the fact that how well are these countries able to create a joint strategy or an ecosystem, in the sense that what needs to be done. Not only how to invest more in communications technologies, but also at the same time to really need what type of other attributes you need to increase in your economy. How do you redevelop the skills level of the workforce, for instance, in the businesses? How do you enable for an even greater access in the society? And how do you enable, for instance, gender development in those societies?
When we think of connectivity, we have to think about what drives connectivity as a source of productivity growth. Basically, as economists, we say there are three actors in the economy. There are consumers, who buy and use phones. There's businesses, and there's government. So those are the three basic actors we have in the economy. Each of them has a different role and a different weight in our index. And each of them, therefore, has a kind of policy role. Consumers really don't do policy, and we think of them as being affected by what network operators do and what governments do. Businesses who use connectivity have also a big role, because it's taking connectivity and using it to enhance business processes, which is really the driver of productivity growth. And we certainly need more of that. That we can see in any industry the leading edge firms in this. And by leading edge, they're kind of miles ahead of other people. And it's kind of that innovation and pushing that innovation through the rest of that business sector that's going to be very important.
In case of the research and efficiency-driven economies, the operator can assess what is the level of, for instance, the coverage of their technologies and what is the level of adaptation of the existing communications technologies, by really getting a full sense on how it affects economic activity and how it affects the levels of social development in those markets.
The response to this scorecard has been very surprising to me. First, when we first started thinking about it, and there are three other important kind of scorecards or indices that are out there. So one thought, well, maybe this will just die and nobody will notice, right? Nobody will come to the party. But it's had an amazing success. It kind of has gotten a life of its own that I find maybe surprising. That the way we're weighting it has academics pleased. The rankings seem intuitive to a lot of countries. So it's getting a kind of a bigger play and more importance than I ever suspected.
The initial response from analysts and from other interested parties that I have been engaging with the connectivity scorecard has been highly positive. The analysts, for instance, see this as a next step to really understand and bring added economic gravity, if you want, in the fact that what is connectivity in the future and what it really means. I'll give you an example what I mean with that. In the case of the internet services and what currently exists in the internet, everyone talks now about Web 2.0, a phase where the internet services are creating economic activity in a new transformative way. Connectivity in itself is evolving towards what we can call, and we call in a connectivity scorecard, connectivity 2.0. We're going from the analog world to the digital world. And we're really starting to understand how connectivity is transforming itself, and especially what is the economic benefit of that transformation.
For further information about the Connectivity Scorecard, and to learn how Nokia Siemens Networks is helping the world connect 5 billion people by 2015, please visit www.connectivityscorecard.org or www.nokiasiemensnetworks.com/connectivity scorecard.